This equipment will be used to start the long-awaited cleanup of the Love Canal area. This week, work crews and heavy equipment started clearing land so a drain pipe and trench system can be installed. The purpose of that trench system is to drain away toxic chemicals which have seeped to the surface, contaminating this neighborhood, forcing more than 200 families to flee their homes.
Right now, anyway, the problem is groundwater contaminated with chemicals leaching out of the old canal bed, okay, going throughout the neighborhood. So we're right now taking a very quick, the quickest we think we can do, action, and using very simple techniques to try to intercept that groundwater. Basically what we're going to do is to dig 2 trenches, not in the canal, but outside the canal, parallel to its sides, between 8 and 12 feet deep. On the bottom of this trench, we'll put a perforated pipe. We'll fill the trench with a coarse gravel material. The theory is that the groundwater leaching from the canal will hit these trenches and the coarse material, won't be transmitted across it, but will fall by gravity into the perforated pipe. These pipes will lead the leachate into a holding tank. Okay. We will be pumping out the holding tank and putting the leachate through a on-site treatment plant and treating it until it is safe enough to be discharged into the sewer system of the city.
Not everyone in the area is pleased that the construction is started. One small group of tenants in the LaSalle development have filed a court injunction to stop the digging until the state health department evaluates their health status.
The people in our area feels that they should have the same right as others to be removed from the area if they have problems that the chemicals would make worse. And this is our gripe. There has been no provision made for those with respiratory problems. And we have quite a few people that do have the problem, and they want to be moved out before the construction starts.
What is the current status?
Well, yesterday, our lawyer, Mr. Scanyon, went to court, and the judge refused to sign the stay-in order. So it's necessary that we go to court now, and that will be Monday in Supreme Court. And then it will be up to us to prove that there is a cause for the construction to be halted. And we're not asking for the work to be stopped completely, only temporarily, until provision is made for those with problems, health problems, to be removed from the area, or provision made for them to move.
Even though the Renters Association was late in expressing their fears, Love Canal residents and other people involved with the project have long held that these chemicals may cause dangers to workers and residents during the construction period.
I can envision a number of great inherent dangers in the process of opening up the canal proper itself. Now, the state has a rather complex and detailed plan for it, and to the best of my perception, it is a good plan. Under the circumstances, probably the best you can do. It is complex, but I think it is carefully designed. There's a detailed plan for protecting the workers. There's a detailed plan for protecting people, either by removing them from the immediate vicinity or by containment through drainage ditches or other facilities, pumps, and above all, they're planned to put a clay layer on top of the canal so that when the rain starts pretty soon and snowfall occurs, that the initial water will not enter the canal and increase the problem. It is sort of a containment. Now, what problems will arrive as the canal proper itself is vacated and is emptied of these toxic materials, nobody can foresee. But I'm pretty sure that the state has gone far, far beyond what I expected them to do in safeguarding that process. It's a very, very good plan.
Now, on this type of canister here,
A meeting was held Tuesday to brief construction workers on safety procedures.
donning the air pack. We're going to be trained on that because there's many different ways to don. Best way, slip it over the back of your head, reach down, let it slide down your back. You have an adjustment on both sides. and you have your waist up. Now I know that was fast, and we'll go through it slowly, but I want to show you how it rests on your back. Okay? It's up on your back. You have two straps here, which you can adjust it to equalize the weight. Now we're talking about 28 pounds of weight, and it's pretty well distributed, so it's not very uncomfortable. You can use it for a period of time without feeling any stress. Okay? Built into here is what we call pack alarm. That rings when you have between 3 to 5 minutes of air left. Okay? That's a signal that your air supply in your tank is diminishing. And it's now time to leave the area, replace your cylinder, and come back. Okay? Any questions about the pack alarm? When you hear that alarm, leave the area, replace your cylinder. If you have to go back in the area, then go back into the area.
Another precaution was taken for residents still living in the area. They participated in a test bus evacuation from the area Monday. 60 bus drivers involved in the simulated evacuation were first briefed on the evacuation plan.
We stressed that bus traffic only would be allowed. You know as well as I do that you're going to get some hard-nosed that's going to try to drive his damn automobile out. And rather than have the automobile in the way and blocking everything up, let him get the devil out of here. But if the push comes to shove, and you law enforcement gentlemen, use your own judgment. Use your own judgment. But my guess is going to be that we're only talking about a handful of cars, possibly at the most, and we'd be better off to let them get out of here and not be a continual thorn in anybody's side. One other point to make, too. In the event of any breakdowns, private automobiles or buses, in case of either one, they'll be moved off the road enough to assure through passage of traffic. And if we get into a situation where we've got a couple of cars jammed up in an accident, then the captain here has made arrangements through his office to assure us the immediate availability of tow trucks, and they will just simply pull those cars right off the right of way and up on the private property if necessary to make sure that the whole thing flies.
Exactly what is the evacuation plan?
Well, basically the plan provides for the evacuation of the people in the areas immediately adjacent to the canal site, both in the east and the west, in the event, in a most unlikely event, that something were to happen in the way of noxious fumes, gases, and so forth. This would be upon order only of the on-site safety officer, Dr. Huffaker, from the State Health Department. And only on his judgment will that be exercised. But we do not, and I can't stress this enough, we do not see any reason that this should ever come about. But we've, like everything else in this project, we've gone to the nth degree to assure the security and safety of people. What we have done is laid on a master plan where all of the buses are kept in clusters at various locations throughout the area. This is for purposes of control, largely due to radio communications problems. We couldn't put radios in every single bus, logically, but we do have them on a cluster basis, so we have radio contact. We would order an evacuation upon Dr. Huffaker's signal. Those buses would depart from the cluster area and then go to their appropriate pickup points along the routes already established for each one of the 60 buses. Each driver knows this, the supervisory people know it, and furthermore, we have put up the evacuation pickup signs throughout the area. You've probably noticed those. After that pickup is completed, they would then go on out, basically either down Williams Road to the east or on Cayuga Drive to the west, onto the expressway, and then to the convention center. At that point, Red Cross volunteers would board the buses to register all of the people on board. The people then would be allowed off the bus and into a selected area within the convention center. At that point in time, then we would reunite the parents with their children who are in 93rd Street School or the Cleveland Avenue School. There are some in some of the other schools within the city district. But the principle is to get the family unit back together. Now, once that's accomplished down there, then the parents and their children boarded the bus again and would be taken, if it required overnight lodging, they would be taken to facilities that we've arranged for through the university, Niagara University. They've been very cooperative with the Red Cross people. That's always been a shelter area out there under their plan, and it would be utilized on that basis.
I stayed on the curb with my children waiting for the buses which were supposed to be there available for me, and no buses were there. 10 to 15 buses drove by. nobody offered to pick me up. Then I came out again, and after another 10 to 12 buses, finally this bus driver offered to pick me up. After I would have been dead probably from gas fumes.
What about you other people?
Well, my only objection is that if we go the way they came down here through the parkway, we're definitely going past the worst area. They're taking us in the wrong direction for safety.
Think they need to reroute things?
They sure do.
How would you suggest?
Well, up Pine Avenue, if they'd have turned left on Williams Road instead of right and on the parkway.
And speaking of the route that you took to get to the convention center, a couple of the people on this bus think that was a dangerous route and that you swung back near the canal zone. How do you feel about the route that's been picked out?
Well, I have no comment on that, really, because I'm not from this area. I'm from Buffalo. All I can go by is what I've read in the papers. They know the area.
All Love Canal charter buses this frequency, upon arriving at the Love Canal site, please check in with us.
As I say, I have really no comment on it because I'm not that familiar with this territory or where the danger would lie. I believe the state officials know this, and I think that the reason they gave us for taking this route is the most expedient and less congested and get them out of the area as fast as being an expressway as it is. I grant you, the people on the bus showed me where we're going by the danger area. Well, it's better to get out of the danger area as fast as you can, and that's the way I have to look at it. I mean, I'm only doing what I have been ordered to do, and I have to take the orders.
The bus route wasn't the only criticism made by area residents this week. 19 families living in the perimeter received a telegram Wednesday which denied them relocation help. The families asked to be moved because of health problems, but the telegram told them that help was not warranted. One resident told us his reaction to that message.
I think it stinks. I feel sold out by the state, by the health department. We give aid to anybody else in the world that needs aid. All I want to do is just get out of my house, and I can't.
Do you have some definite health problems among your family members?
Yes, we do. We have an infant here that's 3 months old, got a congenital defect. I just took him out of the hospital an hour ago. And now I'm supposed to move him back into a contaminated house with chloroform in it.
How far away is your home from the official canal zone area?
Half a block.
Half a block from the fenced-off area.
Have you had any verbal communication with any officials from the health department?
Yes, I have, from Dr. Taylor. I complained 2 months ago about the problem. I asked for a second air reading to back up the first. First he told me he didn't have federal funds available, and then when he did finally come over and do an air sample, he inspected my whole basement to make sure there was nothing stored there. The basement come up with a reading, another chemical reading with chloroform added to it this time. And at that time he told me that if I wanted to bring my family up in a chemically free area, non-contamination, to move out in the middle of the wilderness. And I think a statement like that from a state official stinks.
Residents fled these homes because of health fears. Tests made on leaching chemicals found some of those chemicals cause cancer and other health dangers.
There's at least 3 that have been found in the basement of people's homes that are known to cause cancer. One is benzene, trichloroethylene, and chloroform. And of course, being in cancer research, these are of particular concern to me. I did some initial soil testing, and I was not looking for any particular chemical by exact chemical name. I was looking for a toxic effect. Rather I looked for whether anything in that soil was potentially able of causing cancer. You know, the state found 11 suspected carcinogens, that is a chemical capable of causing cancer, in the soil of the Love Canal, and my results simply confirmed that.
What are some of the sicknesses that have been confirmed to be the results of chemicals in the area?
Well, in this area, the ones that are definite so far is an increase in the number of miscarriages. women who become pregnant and lose the child, and an increase in the number of birth defects, that is, children who are born but have an abnormality. Now, some of these birth defects are hearing problems, mental retardation, and other things. There's several other problems which we suspect, but we have not gotten the hard scientific evidence to prove it yet. When we took a survey of the residents, we find quite an increase in health effects that show some chemicals are damaging the brain and the nerves. Now, we found several people with epilepsy. We think it's more than you would expect in this 3-block area, but we haven't, all the statistics haven't been done yet. We found a number of children with hyperactivity, more than you would expect, and a number of people with severe migraine headaches, severe enough to require hospitalization. Now, all of these are indications that there is a chemical or chemicals damaging the nerves in the brain. And so that's something we're very concerned about.
Our daughter has been doctoring for 5 years now. 4 years ago, she had a reimplantation of the ureters for a reflux condition. And after surgery, she no longer is hemorrhaging. However, she still has a urinary problem because she doesn't have bladder control yet. And our youngest one, he had a minor surgery. Now, his was corrected, but he still is under doctor's care. The youngest one also had a problem where he had stopped breathing at the age of 6 months. And the doctors have no explanatory reason why he did this. They thought possibly, after all results of brain scans, that it could be crib death, according to the symptoms that he had. But I was there at the time, and I blew in his mouth and punched him in the back until we got to the hospital for help. And the only thing the doctor could give us as a reason was the possibility of crib death, which is a very high problem in this concentrated area.
I lived here 3 years and discovered I had cancer. In the 5 years since then, I have taken vitamins, iron, and whatnot for a low blood count, which can be contributed to toluene according to the state. It's a possibility. And of course, my daughter with her asthma. My other 2 children, thank God, are healthy.
I've got 2 little kids that want to be back with their mommy and daddy, and it's going to be another day before I can be back with them. And it hurts. Since they've been away for a week.
They've been moving from place to place, and, you know, we want them with us.
The one has been sick since we moved in here. My 2-year-old, he's lost weight and everything else. I mean, he's growing, but he's not growing the way he should grow.
I have a daughter that's 12 years old. She was born and she has birth defects. She was born, she has rheumatoid arthritis, and asthmatic bronchitis, and she is missing part of her 2nd teeth.
What fears do you have for your unborn baby?
Well, the birth rate, the birth defect rate is approximately 4% higher in the Love Canal area than in the national averages, which there's approximately 1 to 2 birth defects out of 100 children. In this area, there's 6 out of 100 children, which is quite a bit more. I hope there's nothing the matter. We don't know. There's no testing. They can't tell you if you've got the chemicals actually in your body. They can only do certain tests to figure out what the chemicals are doing to your body.
It's depressing for me. You know, I have emotional feelings too, and I feel very depressed about moving, but yet I'm elated to get out of the situation too. I guess it's just the thought of buying another house, seeing about the children's future, which is playing on my mind, but some of them really have, you know, understood some are really drinking heavily, and some contemplated suicide, which is not unusual because right in this area we had 3 suicides. This was before the Love Canal broke out, but I often wonder what caused these people to act irrational. The three people involved, one had 2 children that are legally blind, and then he found out his grandchildren had sight problems, so he committed suicide. Another young man with 2 children that had birth defects and had terrible medical problems drove his car in a garage and closed the door, and that was his solution. Another young mother had a child with birth problems and with health problems, and she became emotionally disturbed and she hung herself. Then I heard there were several others, and this is all in one block, by the way, just within about 150 yards of each other over a period of time. So I don't know, did the chemicals attack the nervous systems or just what it was? I'm not a professional, but there's certainly something suspect that so many people committed suicide in such a concentrated little area, and the fact that so many have contemplated it. So is it that something happening with their nervous system, or just the pressure they can't bear up under? Family problems such as health. Just can't cope with it, and so they commit suicide or contemplate it. I don't know, I'm not a professional, but it makes you wonder.
Beginning last August, residents were given blood tests and health histories were taken. Results of some of those tests are now available.
Now the blood samples show abnormalities, a rather high number of abnormalities in what we call liver enzymes, which mean that your liver is not quite functioning normally, and in white blood cells, which mean that there's some kind of stress on the body. It's not really sickness, not disease, but it's not optimal health. It means there's a warning signal there. And we don't have all the statistics yet on the number, but it's a significant increase over normal.
There are still unanswered questions for residents here. One is whether these homes will be habitable after work is completed on containing the leaching chemicals.
I feel that there may be some problems that will not be solved by the cleanup. We'll have to wait and see. But certainly, some of the homes that are back from the canal that have rather high levels, for reasons we don't understand, I'm not convinced that the cleanup will remove that problem. We'll have to wait and measure and see, but there may be some other areas besides the first ring, besides the homes in 96 and 99, there may be some homes that are not suitable to live in once the cleanup has occurred.
Even when federal disaster officials first toured Love Canal, most residents stood firm when questioned about what they wanted and whether they would move back into their homes.
Let me ask you this question. I should have asked it of some of the others, maybe you too. If you were to leave this area for some period of time, 6 months or something, and the houses were boarded up and then this was all cleaned up, and you got assurances that there wasn't a problem, would you come back?
No. That's not what we're looking for.
What are you
we're looking for to be moved out of the area permanently. I don't care, 10 years from now, if they clean that back up, clean our property up, we're still no value to our homes, but the reputation is still here.
Mm-hmm.
Many people have also...
It's an economic matter. You wouldn't maybe be reluctant to come back if you had real assurances that there wasn't any environmental problem from a family point of view,
That's
but
right.
you would from an economic point of view.
That's right.
Is that your feeling too?
Yes, it is. Another thing is we feel that even though it's cleaned up, we couldn't come back in this area to the present homes, obviously.
Why not?
Well, because they're all contaminated and there's no way you can...
supposing vents and so forth were put in, you had assurances from the experts that it was okay.
What I understand from the expert is even venting that's in your wood, the chemicals are in the pores of the cement, and there isn't any way to clean it out.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I understood.
Yeah.
We just like to get out permanently.
Yeah. And does everybody feel that way?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Some unanswered questions include lawsuits over Hooker Chemical and others' involvement in the chemical dumping. And some residents still feel the Army dumped in the area.
We felt that what we did at the time was proper and correct. We reluctantly deeded the property to the Board of Education. We lost control of that property and that landfill site for 25 years until this thing suddenly mushroomed. So I would say that we believe that we have done all that a responsible corporate citizen could do under the circumstances to secure and maintain a safe disposal site. And I suppose that because of the notoriety which we have gotten as a result of the Love Canal situation, you might say that we have been unfairly blamed. We're not interested in being blamed or pointing the finger at anybody. We're interested right now in getting on with a program of corrective action, which has been delayed about 2 months from what we had anticipated, which hopefully is beginning today. And we think that if the corrective action that has been designated by an independent engineering firm is in fact implemented and implemented promptly, it'll correct almost all of the problem in that site.
Yeah, I don't think that we can point the finger, and I think, I would hope that someone 20 years from now will be able to look back and say, gee, back in 1978 they were doing thus and so. And they never should have done it, because look what it's done to our health and to our environment here in the year 2000. I think we're going to find that. We're always going to find that. We find a few years ago nobody knew what caused cancer. Here we are now in 1978, and they are finding things that are perhaps causing cancer.
Some of the longtime residents of the Love Canal area claim to have seen some Army dumping taking place in that area, in the dump zone there, in the late 40s, early 50s. As far as you can tell, is there any truth to those rumors?
We have no evidence one way or the other to either support or disprove that point.
As I specified before to the Army, that I actually saw them come here and helped them to unload and push the drums in the canal.
Was this on more than one occasion?
3 occasions that I saw them. There's about 18 drums altogether that I would say there was something special in them, because they had Army personnel deliver them and made sure that I covered them.
It may take years to answer all the questions raised by Love Canal, but perhaps the most important question is, what have we learned?
Well, I think we've learned that despite the fact that the United States is a great technological society, we cannot have technology at the expense of everything else. That there must be a balance between the pursuit of a greater, more comfortable life and the quality of life.